Okay, our next speaker is the co-founder and president of Wingmate out of Toronto, Matt Leuschner. He'll be presenting virtually today. Matt is a young entrepreneur whose company focuses on driving sales, better customer service, and stronger communication. Matt is currently working with over 35 independent linen and laundry companies in our industry, and it all starts with digitizing your frontline routes. When it comes to Q&A for Matt, if y'all don't mind, since he is presenting virtually, please use the mic in the middle of the room so Matt can hear your question. Otherwise, he won't be able to hear it. So without further ado, let's give Matt a warm welcome.
Thank you, Suzette, and pleasure to be here with the ITRA family to present what I have for everyone today. So before I dive in, I just want to say that I would love to be there in person. I'm over here in Canada, so our lockdown regulations are a little bit different than the US, but I'm happy to see everything's reopened over there, and hopefully next year we'll be there in person. For today's discussion, Suzette kind of gave you a brief overview, but what we're going to be talking about is how to get more out of your routes. These are the people that you have in the field. They're the face of your business. And ultimately, they sometimes know the most about the customer. How can we leverage their eyes and ears to drive more sales, to drive better service, and to communicate as a team? So bridge the operations gap. So I'm going to dive in right now and just give you a little bit of a background of how we got here. So my partner in this business, he had a company called Turtle Island Recycling, and it was based out of downtown Toronto. And Turtle Island Recycling, hence the name, was a garbage company. They had about 800 drivers on the front line, and those drivers would see everything from new restaurants opening to competitor intel, whether it's, a competitor bin overflowing or a competitor truck out back. These guys were the face of the business, like I said, and their eyes and ears would collect valuable information every day. In 2012, Louis, my partner, ended up selling that business to a company called GFL, Green for Life. They're similar to a Waste Management in size. And when he sold his business, we really wanted to focus on how we could tap into the front line for all businesses. I mean, we started in the waste industry. And as I'm sure a lot of people in the room can imagine, getting a garbage truck driver to send back leads, if you're going to develop technology for them, it's got to be very simple, right? I work with garbage truck drivers all the time. They're the salt of the earth, similar to route drivers. But if you're going to get them to use something to help you drive sales, it's got to be easy. So what we focused on doing was building an app that can connect to the sales team and the service team back at the office and allow these guys to submit the opportunities they come across. So, started in the waste industry, but very quickly realized how valuable this was to the laundry industry. And over the past couple of years, as Suzette mentioned, we're on the way to working with 40 independent laundries just from word of mouth. I'm sure everyone in the room might have heard or know someone that is working with us. So what we're talking about today is how can we help relay service and sales opportunities from the field, make it easy for everyone, and make it a win-win for your whole organization, right? Come together as a team. So the first thing I want to talk about is how to develop a smart frontline lead program, because I'm sure a lot of people have had experience with pen and paper method. You tell your guys, hey, when you're out there, if you see something, write it down on a piece of paper, bring it back to the sales rep, and they'll go ahead and close it. Or if you see a customer complaint, write it down and we'll get to it, right? So that's the traditional way of doing things. What we're going to talk about today is digitizing your routes, and for a matter of fact, everybody in the field, but also a smart frontline lead program. Okay. So what goes into a smart frontline lead program? The first thing is simplicity. So we need to make sure it is very easy for your people to contribute, right? So we're talking about pen and paper going into 2020, 2021. I think there's been a mindset shift, especially because the frontline workers are essential workers. they spot those opportunities. But if they're writing down on paper and bringing them back, a lot of things fall through the cracks. Not to mention, they're probably not going to be that keen on doing that. So we got to make sure it's very simple. The next piece is it needs to be measured and shared. So we want to make sure that we're measuring the results of each individual's success. I'll give you an example. If I'm a route rep and I'm out and I come across a new business opening, if I send it back and it's shared with other routes or it's shared with the team in a team manner, then I'm much more likely to send more. In fact, you kind of get that group thing going where everyone's more likely to send more. So when you start measuring this stuff, sharing it, whether it's through leaderboards, we need to make sure that the whole team knows the positivity surrounding a program like this, right? And you can find fun ways to do this by running contests, by having sweepstakes, right? Maybe, a gift card to their favorite restaurant or a gift card to Amazon or whatever it is, right? But there's a lot of fun ways that you can do that. The next part is accountability. And this is a huge problem that we see with pen and paper methods. If a route is out there and they bring back a lead and they give it to a salesperson or even a service like a dispatch to handle that customer service issue, let's say, if they don't see accountability, if they don't see that lead getting actioned and they're kept in the loop with that, oftentimes they will, it could actually do more harm than good. They might feel resentful or they might say, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. So we need to make sure that everyone's held accountable, especially salespeople, especially if they're going outside their job to deliver a sales lead, right? In most cases, if a customer complains, that fits in the description of a route rep. But outside of upsell and cross-sell, new sales leads isn't really their job. So if they're going to go out of their way and, you ask that of them, let's make sure that right from capture all the way to close, they are kept in the loop. And then reward. This piece is actually not as important as you may think. Now, rewarding a route rep or rewarding anyone in your organization who's non-sales to bring in a lead, right? Because really what we're talking about when I say frontline lead program, I'm talking about everyone. We want to leverage the eyes and ears of everyone, the assets that you already have. You have their arms and legs. Let's start tapping into everyone's eyes and ears, right? The reward isn't as important as you may think. And I'll go over later in this presentation, best in practice rewards of what you can do with your routes and your employees who aren't salespeople. But it's something that's going to get them started, right? Once they see the accountability and they see their lead progress, the reward is going to be that piece that lets them start. So, okay, what's in it for me? Well, the first lead that you send that closes, maybe we'll pay you $50 or a one-to-one commission payout. I mean, I know from the industry, from the experience that we have with the industry, a lot of people have this stuff in mind, but let's formalize that reward program and make sure that everybody knows what's in it for them. And then the last piece is track. So pen and paper, obviously it fizzles out. I'm sure a lot of people have tried pen and paper. It just doesn't last. With a smart lead program, let's make sure that you have a solid way of tracking and have a solid way for any lead generator, routes, or non-sales staff to check in with the team and know where their contributions are at. So that's a smart lead program. That's kind of the Wingmate outline of what a smart lead program is. And if you look in the bottom right corner of my screen there, you'll see a little bird and the wings are a signal. So tying back to what I was talking about of where we started and where we came from, and more important, why we're doing it. We believe that, you have these great teams, you have these different divisions of your organization. And what we want to do is take that bird, right? We base this on military technology times, or homing pigeons going out, bringing back information, everyone working as a team, your different troops from different parts of the organization coming together. Those wings are actually a signal, sending and pulling information. So what we're trying to do and why we're trying to do it is to out-team the competition. If we get everyone on the team to kind of become a fanatical representative of your organization, you can't lose. The competition cannot compete with that, right? But it's these things here on the Smart Lead program that are going to get you there. So let's talk about an ideal campaign, because a lot of people may say, okay, this is great, but what is it that you see companies send, right? What is it that you would tell a route or a non-sales employee to send? So this slide, there's a lot of bullet points on here, and I'm going to speak through them. The first thing we want to talk about is restaurants. These are just some examples. I took our best in practice campaign that we run through Wingmate and put it on the slide for you. But, restaurants, auto repair, machine shops, manufacturing, right? That's the first thing. So new business or businesses that are kind of recently popped up, split accounts. If your route ever goes into an account and they see another competitor in there doing something that you can do, there's no question that you should have that whole account. So that's something that I would prioritize. Competitors providing service next to your customers. Let's say a route's going into a client or a customer, and they see next door a couple of restaurants down, Cintas truck. Well, tell them to capture the truck, write it down, write the business down. That way, when your salesperson calls, they can say, hey, you had a Cintas truck out front. Here's what we're doing. We're a local business, or whatever your pitch is, right? But at least that way you have some intel. You have something to work off of, and there's actually rapport there. It's amazing how much further you'll get if you can tell the prospect that you're trying to get business from a bit of a story. Locations with grand opening signs, that's obvious. I'm sure everyone in the room goes by businesses all the time. They go, wow, we got to do business with those people. Wow, we should have that account, right? I speak to owners all the time. This is something that, why not, right? Your routes, you have these eyes and ears out there. Everybody sees it. Let's get them back. And then the last few points, customer service issues. This isn't just about sales. When I use the word lead, I'm talking about everything, service lead, deficiencies, these types of things. It's all about the eyes and ears and the intel and consolidating it in one system. Current information that's good to have. If there is a competitor in the account, the current provider, the contract expiry date, we have it as a CXD there. And then obviously, last but not least, the potential to sell multiple product lines or upsell. So I'll give you an example. When COVID first hit, a perfect upsell campaign would be PPE, right? Or masks and gloves and all that stuff. And you could do that instead of a sales rep calling. You say, hey, to your routes, hey guys, we're going to pay you $10 every lead that you send that ends up in us adding masks or gloves or whatever it may be. So those are some of the things they can look out for, and they range. I mean, we see companies even focusing on safety issues on the trucks. We just launched a company recently that's doing employee referrals, because obviously good routes are hard to find. So we have them capturing contact details of potential routes. And then if we take a look at industry rewards, right? Let's talk about the current incentives that are running. So this is obviously all dependent on the intel your people are generating. But, if a lead comes in and it's a qualified lead, using the Wingmate system, this is hard to do without Wingmate, but you want to pay them a little bit of something, because really the close is out of their control. So $1 to $10 for a qualified lead. That means a lead that's been vetted by your salesperson. And then successful close leads, we see anywhere from $10 to $50 as a fixed payout, or a 1-to-1 commission, sometimes a 2-to-1 commission if it's a renewal opportunity. So I'm going to go through a little bit of a financial side about this, like an ROI that you can expect when you start tapping into those assets on the front line. But before I do that, I want to share a little bit about how we're doing it at Wingmate with people in the industry, and how we got here, really. So let's go through the benefits of a program like this, right? So obviously the first benefit is more sales. If you can find more leads, close more deals, maximize the eyes that you already have, it's really a numbers game. The second benefit is teamwork and engagement. When you bring your team together, as I said before, when you out-team the competition, you mobilize your troops, you get a lot more engagement from your routes. Think of it this way. If your route is out there and they come across a new business and you end up getting that business, and now they're delivering to that business, it's their account. It's not the sales guy's account. It's actually their account, and they're going to feel that appreciation, and it will translate right into their service, right? And then on top of that, just having each one of your departments communicate seamlessly is going to be very beneficial. Last but not least, you have communication and efficiency. So what you're trying to do here is streamline everything as well. And this is kind of where Wingmate comes in. So we're going to talk about that a little bit next. But what you really want to do is make it so that you've got a well-oiled machine, so that everything that's being captured in the field, whether it's from a route or a non-salesperson, or even a salesperson for that matter, is ending up in the CRM where they can pursue that opportunity or customer service issue. So here's, spinning a little bit into what we're doing at Wingmate and how we're benefiting companies. Here's the app that we developed. This is an app that goes on any smart device, any tablet. And again, we made it for a garbage truck driver. So like I said before, we work with them all the time, but it was built by drivers for drivers. And over time, salespeople started using the app, owners started using the app, because it allows you to capture information on the go. And this information goes into a web dashboard where it can be actioned and managed. We call it a simple CRM. For those of you who are using a CRM, this would integrate into it. But to tie to the simplicity, there's 5 buttons on this app, and it does not get any easier than this, right? So the first button is the easy lead capture. So this ties to, I'm a route, or I'm an employee of Acme Linen Service. Let's just use that name for example. I see an opportunity. I see a customer service complaint. In seconds, I can snap that back. Number 2 is the rewards and leaderboard. So when I was talking about that smart lead program, this kind of pulls it all into, we pulled all the psychology of the Frontline into this app. So number 2 is really actually the rewards in real time. If I'm a non-sales employee, right, I don't really make commission. So I can now see my commissions in real time. Let's say I just had a lead close in the app. I can see that $25 in the earnings. I can see all the leads I've sent, my past payouts. I can even see leaderboards. So I can see how my colleagues are performing, who sent the most leads for the month. That's all right there on the home screen. So simplicity, obviously the easy lead capture, and then the measurability in the rewards and the leaderboard, right? Program details. So this piece here is the next slide that we spoke about, and that's the what to look for. What you want your user sending and what's in it for them. This can be any intel. It doesn't have to be just sales oriented. It could be anything, because really what we're trying to do is sell more, save time, and communicate better. So if you want to tie this into the efficiency side, you can do that as well. And I gave you a best in practice program details, which we'll be sending these slides out at the end of the presentation, obviously. Track. Now, this goes to the last point, actually, which is the trackability piece, and that's number 4 here. You can see if they hit that tracking folder, they can actually see all the leads that they've sent, right from capture all the way to close. So whether it's a sales opportunity or a service issue, now they can see who's working it in real time. They can click into the lead, see all the comments, communicate with the sales or service team in real time. You are literally bringing your team together, and you're digitizing your whole team to communicate in real time. This is by far one of the most popular pieces of the program, is now giving that operations staff or that operations teammate the visibility over their contributions versus them going in and saying, okay, here's Sally in sales, here's a lead that I got for today, and then they never hear about it again, right? This allows everyone to be accountable now. And vice versa, if I'm a sales rep or an owner using this app, I can track all my leads and see where they're at in the sales cycle as well. Team feed. I'm sure everyone reads the newspaper. Team feed picture, you had a newspaper dedicated to your company of positive updates. And this ties back to that smart lead program, right? The measure and share piece. Share that positive news. They click the newspaper icon, and it's going to take them into a screen where they can see all the exciting updates and things that have happened on the program. Now, let's talk about the actual lead capture process, because this is a really important piece. I've seen a lead sheet before. I've been out to a lot of companies. I see lead sheets they have. Sometimes they're 2 pages, or sometimes it's an in-house clunky system or a Google form. This is a 10-second lead capture that we've built. And again, it all came out of the waste industry. You hit the camera button or the little thunderbolt that you see there on the screen. It's going to pull up your screen. In this case, it's a new restaurant opening. You can see the campaign. So as I said before, you can route to a salesperson or a service department. They can choose just by a drop-down menu where they want to route it. And then it's actually going to geocode the address, so they don't even have to type. They can put in a quick voice note and hit submit, right? And of course, you have the option for custom fields. Let's say you want to have a business name or some sort of drop-down in there. That customization is available, but the actual lead capture, and that whether you're using Wingmate or whether you're using the smart lead program methodology that I spoke about earlier, you want to make sure that this is extremely, extremely easy, because a lot of technology or initiatives, their number one problem is actual data entry. If you take a company, some of the bigger CRMs, like a massive company like Salesforce or something, sometimes it takes 10, 20 minutes to enter a lead, right? So we wanted to make it 10 seconds max and have that information go right where it needs to go in real time. So where does this information go? There's the mobile app, and then there's a web dashboard. And this is kind of like your Microsoft Excel, right? Where you'd be tracking your stuff. Or if you're in a CRM, you know exactly what this is. But this is a simple CRM. We noticed a huge void in the market with CRM for the sales team, especially. They're either in spreadsheets or they're in a dated CRM, or they're in a really complicated CRM that they don't need. It's overbuilt, underutilized type of thing. So we built this dashboard for the whole team to be in and communicate. And we wanted to make it social so that when a lead came in from a route or a lead came in from a salesperson, everyone can communicate on that and move it where it needs to go. Things like reminders, contract expiry, overall lead management, reporting and analytics. So leaderboards and all that stuff would be included here. What you see on the left is a pipeline view. So that's a drag and drop of your sales cycle or your service cycle. And on the right, you have a integration with Google Maps and Google Satellite. So that actually allows you to see all your leads pinned out on a map and all the surrounding business. So for route density, for sales density, it's all managed and tracked through here. If you do have a CRM that you use, right? If you're in the mindset, you're going, okay, this looks cool. I want to get my routes involved, but my sales team is already in Salesforce or whatever it may be. This integrates into every CRM. We integrate with over 2,000 other platforms, into billing systems, things like Alliant. We can integrate into anything you need. So the numbers that I gave was 35. We're actually coming over 40 now. And this has all been through word of mouth. And we don't just work in laundry. I mean, like I said, we started in waste. So our main verticals here where we run these types of programs would be waste, commercial linen and laundry, telecommunications, things like courier logistics, so the FedExes of the world, food service like Cisco Food Service, some of these verticals. But linen and laundry has by far been our most fulfilling industry to work in, our most rewarding industry to work in, because the independents are usually small to medium-sized businesses who give us real-time feedback on the product. So we wouldn't have gotten to 40 or over 40 or where we are today if we weren't customer-driven. We don't get in a room and say, oh, we should do this or we should do this. We actually listen to what the customer wants. We've got a very small hands-on team here that will actually implement those features as we go and as we grow with individual companies. All these videos are actually on the website. So in terms of the playback quality, I mean, I could play one of these testimonials. I may at the end if we have a little bit of time left over. But really, they're all available for you to take a look at. Just the videos that you see here. We've got NDC, National Dust Control in the bottom left, Cytex in the top right, Penn in the bottom right, and then if Doratex, who we no longer work with because they got bought out by the big bad wolf. Cintas, but we did work with them. We were doing a lot of great stuff with them before they got bought out. The other companies that you see there, like Pure Later, Waste Management, et cetera, are all other industries, of course. So let's talk a little bit about an ROI for this program. This is with or without Wingmate, by the way. This is all about tapping into your routes. So the assets that are already out there, they're already delivering your service. They're the face of your business. Let's face it, a lot of times the customers, really the relationship is with them, right? They have the rapport. So let's talk about the ROI on this. They're extremely high impact, these programs, and they're self-funding. The reason being is because to get an ROI on this, well, if you're using Wingmate, you need to close one deal. But just in general, let's say I put some plug-in numbers here. And again, this is hosted online. So if you go to fly.wingmateapp.com/calculator, you can play around with your own numbers, but this is based on recurring accounts, which, the industry is all recurring business unless you're focusing on direct sales. But on the right-hand side here, we have some numbers. So let's go to the top number that I have there, which is the $400 in revenue monthly. I know you guys use weekly, so we're going to say the average new customer, maybe this is a blend between an upsell and a new business added. Let's say it's $100 a week in monthly revenue, right? So $100 a week, you have 15 routes out there every day. All you have to do is say to those 15 routes, I'm expecting one sales lead from each of you per week. So of those 15 routes, you are getting 4 leads each per month, which would work out, if you take the whole team, that would be working out to 60 new sales leads per month. If you convert 20% of those leads, in fact, if you convert 10% of those leads, 5% of those leads, you will always be winning. With the 20% conversion, so 1 in 5 of the 60 leads converts over a 12-month period, you would be generating $374,400 in revenue for that year because it compounds, right? We use the rule of 78, where if an account's added in January, 400 a month or 100 a week, it's still there in February, right? So that number is what happens if you were to do these metrics that I put in. Again, you can play with these numbers in that calculator there in the bottom left, but it's just to give everyone an idea, with or without Wingmate, why it's so important to tap into your front line. Another reason why it's very important is because, we're in a new time. I mean, I don't want to talk about COVID. We've heard enough about it, but the frontline staff are essential. And coming out of this thing, this is the competitive advantage to compete with some of the bigger companies. I mean, they have sales teams of 10, 20, 30 sales reps. Why not tap into those eyes and ears of your routes? They're still doing their day job. You're making it easy for them. But now they can see all those seeds of opportunity on the horizon. Businesses changing hands, new businesses opening, changes in service levels. Use them, guys, and use that as a competitive advantage to take business from some of the competition, right? So it's super important, not to mention, door-to-door sales isn't as popular anymore. We noticed a trend internally, and it's something else we do, which I'll talk about, is really fostering inside sales growth as well. So that's something I'll talk about. But if you could imagine this, you have your routes, they're teeing up sales leads. You have one inside salesperson qualifying those leads, and then you've got an outside sales team going in for the kill, and it's all efficient. And that's very, very hard to compete with when everyone's communicating. So this is the last piece here I want to talk about. And it goes to the inside sales portion of things. So I've spoken to you guys about the Smart Lead program, why it's important to tap into your routes. A little briefly on Simple CRM, which is another thing that we do. If you're looking to move from spreadsheets or you're looking to downgrade from a Salesforce, you want something a little simpler. The third thing that we do, which is tied directly to COVID, the times that we're living in, is inside sales. So a lot of people are trying to go from, the traditional door-to-door sales, the outside sales rep, who are very expensive, and maybe pivot a little bit to have inside sales, people picking up the phones. here at Wingmate, I don't know how many people have seen Wolf of Wall Street or Boiler Room. We've got a team of inside salespeople that work directly for Wingmate. A lot of them work in the industry. And what we've done is we've deployed them to our clients, obviously at a fraction of the cost of a new hire, to actually qualify leads for you. So when the routes are sending leads in, you don't need that inside salesperson sitting there, or your salespeople are sending leads in, or the owner's sending leads in. You don't need those inside salespeople. These people will pick up the phone, qualify the leads, get all the information, decision maker, contract expiry dates, all those things. And then when it's ready, in the dashboard that I showed you, we'll tee it up for that person, right? So there's this program came out of a direct need, and it's an add-on. It actually came out of some of the work we did with waste management in the waste industry. We noticed their outside sales reps were so busy that some of the driver leads would come in and they couldn't get to them in time. So that's why we added this program. And as you can see on my screen here, these are the three things that they focus on. The three pinnacles: qualify leads and set appointments, immediate feedback and communication, and follow up and follow through, right? So that's separate, but something to consider when you're building out your inside sales team. I mean, these are all things that you'd want to have top of mind. So guys, that's the presentation that we have today. Before I wrap up, I'm going to play a video. I'm going to play a testimonial video for you so you can kind of hear a live account of what we're doing. But before I do that, let's open up the floor to some questions, just so it's fresh in everyone's head. We've got that's my cell phone number there. If you have any questions about just how you want to run your own lead program or Wingmate in general, you can give me a call. That's our website right below. And then that info email is our team email. So if you have any inquiries, that will go to the team, and then we can answer it as need. But if you want to speak about, you're curious, you're starting your own lead program internally, or you're looking at ways to track sales leads for your sales team better, or you're looking at building out your inside sales department, right? Give me a shout on my cell, and we'll talk about what I see in the industry and some of the ways that I feel you can do that. We can go a little bit more in depth and have a two-way conversation. With that being said, Suzette, I'd love to open the floor for questions if there are any.
Does anybody have any questions for Matt? Any questions about his process? Leads management? Ernest?
Hi, Matt. This is Ernest
Hey.
with Halifax Linen. Nice to speak to you again.
Hey, Ernest, how are you?
Hey, question for you. Am I correct that you've got an integration now with Salesforce?
You're correct. So we can put together an integration for you in 3 days. It's ready to go.
And secondly, with these laundries, these 40-plus laundries, are you tracking the results as a whole without any specific information from any laundries? Are you tracking total sales to date that you've been able to pull from our industry?
Definitely. So it depends on if the laundry is using our CRM or not. If they're using our CRM, 100%. If they're in a Salesforce, usually we don't ask data. We don't pull data from their Salesforce because that's private to their CRM. Sure. So yes, we do. In the case where we have that data, we will track it for you.
Have you got a number that you can share with the group of what the success has been with Wingmate incorporated into our industry today?
Yeah, in terms of what number, like sales. Conversion rate?
Yeah. Sales, conversion rates, any information? Yeah,
so I can give you some averages for sure. So the average conversion rate on route sales leads, if we're talking about new sales opportunities, is somewhere between 5 and 10%. If you're talking about like new restaurants opening, right? Now, if you go into upsell or service issues, of course, the conversion rate is 60 to 80%, right? Because that's usually within existing accounts. So they come back to Wingmate and you increase in account size or you deal with the issue at hand. So that would be a conversion rate type of thing. The average sale is very hard to say because every company has different prices. So that would be more of an individual use case basis. But as you can imagine, it ranges based on what you're selling and your cost, right?
Anybody else? No? Okay, well, if you have questions later, you know how to get in touch with Matt. Thank you very much, Matt. I appreciate
Thank you so
being here
much.
today.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
Take care. Hey, everybody, I'm sorry we finished up a little early there. We have our next speaker, Troy Harrison, coming on at 11. So if you have any emails to read or phone calls to make, we'll be back with Troy at 11. Thank you.